couple different ways to do that. And essentially, each agency continues to exist separately and maintain their separate legal status while you determine what are the legal hoops that we have to jump through to make it an official merger. There's different types. Essentially, there's administrative collaboration where you combine some of the administrative functions under the fire chief, clerical functions, personnel management, that sort of thing. That's called an administrative collaboration. There's a functional collaboration where you also can join training, public education, vehicle maintenance, that sort of thing. And operational collaboration where you essentially operate as a single agency. They're pretty much there now in terms of an operational collaboration. But it gives you an option, essentially, it could be one or more of those. Essentially, you're living together before you get married. That's how these collaboration in these three different types.
Could you go back a few slides, please?
Sure. Which one?
The one that where you're showing the loss over the number of years if you did a merger.
To do what we're recommending, you need another $1.7 million, but subtract 8% off that 1.7, and would be closer.
And that's from taking on the EMS employees into the fire district?
Yep, that's the whole shebang right there. Consolidations are not, it's a misconception. We do fire department mergers and consolidations all the time, and there's a misconception like, ooh, we're going to merge and save all this money. That's not the intent of mergers. It really isn't. The intent of mergers is to improve the quality and efficiency of service, not say, hey, we can save a bunch of money and we can, hire more different
John,
sheriffs.
doesn't that cost include those personnel that you talked about?
Yeah,
so it's not just the merger. It's the additional personnel that's the cost.
Yeah, that's the biggest cost.
Right.
And
but not just the merger by itself.
Right.
Might or might not be needed, merger or not.
Right.
In each of the
departments. You could merge without the personnel. I mean, you saw the same struggles.
Yeah.
But that includes the personnel.
Yeah, and you make
it projected personnel that we don't have on staff, right, neither in EMS or in, and this doesn't account for the, because you had us at 11 full-time and we have more now. So that you have the data at the time.
This is the information we had at the time. And then we just got the collection rate data, was it last week, Claire, whenever. So when we found out the collection rate's a lot better than it was, it makes a big difference from 42, almost 43% to over, what was it, Claire, 51? 52.7, so almost 53%, almost a 10%, actually almost a 10% more revenue coming in than what we originally anticipated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Mike, I want to ask you a question. Could you tell from the presentation if all of the costs associated with the EMS was taken into consideration?
I could not tell.
I couldn't either. I tend to think this is rather rosy.
We took all their historical budgets and current budget and put it all together.
I think the challenge you've got is you have two things going on. You've got a merger going on, but you also have a reorganization going on. And they're somewhat mutually exclusive. And so the costs of the reorganization versus the costs of merging are all in one pot in this presentation. So I don't know how you break that down specifically.
Well,
we looked at as separate pieces. Right?
Well, I'm just saying, for me, I only see the one side. I don't see the other side. So they're together right now.
Yeah, well, we've separated out the cost of the reorganization, but it's kind of, it's not cut and dried. It's not black and white because they operate almost as an integrated service as it is. So you can't break out, what are the when firefighters are running ambulance for Wasatch County EMS, there's no way to break that out in terms of costs. So it's
Well,
not
part
an
of
easy
the cost of
calculation.
EMS is we pay the fire district about $450,000 a year to
Right.
use those firefighters.
Right, I understand that.
So we do pay for that.
Right.
We pay
Well, I'm
for
not
their
saying you
time.
don't, but trying to break it out and look at EMS, it's a fire service and EMS, looking at trying to break those costs out has been a challenge for fire service for years.
Oh, yeah.
We can talk more about
On
it.
your future projections here, where you're saying, is the assumption made, or do you know if the assumption is made that the county makes no financial contribution to the district capital once the merger is complete?
No, we don't, we're not saying that one way or the other. We're just saying that's the costs and that's the revenue. So the county could or they couldn't. The district may have to raise taxes. There's different ways you can do it.
Right, but I mean, out of the, was there assumption that the county would then contribute to, as a source of revenue for the district?
There was not that assumption.
Okay.
That's a political decision. Should I move on? So we came up with what we call our improvement goals. We looked at short-term, mid-term, and long-term improvement goals. One thing, and maybe this has changed, but one thing we're concerned about is that full-time firefighters, career firefighters, were working as volunteers, coming in on their days off and volunteering. We're not attorneys, but we strongly recommend that you get an outside legal opinion to determine if that's the FLSA implications of that, because that may be a big no-no. But again, I'm not an attorney, but based on my 40-something years experience. Improvement goal 8.2 is strategic planning. We suggest you develop, you engage in a strategic planning process that would result in the development of a mission statement, vision, department values, that sort of thing, along with identifying the priorities of the citizens of Wasatch County. You're kind of doing that anyway with the Fire Advisory Board. You could conduct a formal strategic planning process with the primary goal of identifying issues. You can do community surveys as part of the strategic planning process. Find out what the community wants, what their expectations are. If you do a true strategic planning process, there's a whole process where you include citizens, you can do online surveys, find out what they want, what they're willing to pay for. This is just about internal communications and planning. We suggest you consider implementing more structured staff meetings, do those on a regular basis. Make sure you have administrative consistency, strategic continuity, and transparency throughout the fire district. Consider publishing a quarterly newsletter. It should be distributed among all career and paid on-call staff, and look for best methods for determining distribution. Shift BCs and captains should have regular meetings with career personnel and operations division, including meetings with the paid on-call volunteers. And upper management, fire chief and division chiefs, again in our model that we're suggesting in our organizational, should have at least 2 meetings annually with career and paid on-call fire and EMS personnel. Personnel issues and job descriptions, we suggest they work with Wasatch County Human Resources to develop formal policies and a structured hiring process for new firefighters and other employees. Make it a more formal, competitive process for people seeking promotions. Develop formal job descriptions for all your full-time and paid-on-call people. We suggest discontinuing the mandatory requirement for new and current EMS volunteers to obtain firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 certifications. We suggest encouraging interested individuals from the healthcare professions, healthcare professionals to volunteer. We've lost a couple people that wanted to be part of EMS because they just didn't have time to become firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 certifications, and they could be really valuable on an ambulance as long as they have proper training at the